Wargamers, I'm Lee and you're watching 360 Wargaming.
Hi guys, thanks for joining us again today. If you follow us on Facebook, then you'll see that my slow growing marine army is very close to the point where I need to think about basing it. Now the plan's always been that these are going to be on urban bases, and I cannot tell you how grateful I was when Ashdown Gaming sent me a set of their urban ruins. And these are the ones that I've received from them. As you can see, there are 5 different bases that they've sent me. Now these are 3D printed resin bases, and they have a lot of detail on these. Some of them even have little spent shell casings, which are going to be fantastic for marines, especially the Primaris assault marines that are going to be going on them. Now, the other positives of these, obviously being resin printed, is that they don't need to be cleaned off like other resin cast bases. And in addition to that, the guys at Ashdown Gaming have left a little gap in the bottom so that you can put a magnet in there, so that they're nice and easy if you do want to put them on movement trays or in magnetic storage cases. So today we're going to be painting and getting miniatures on these, hopefully. So we'll come back shortly and these should be primed and ready to go. So as you can see, we have them here now, primed in grey and ready to get started. I'm going to start off with a Chaos Black coat on there. This is Citadel colour. When I do my basing, I prefer to use a stippling method using sponge. So I'm going to put a bit of black in the palette and grab one of my sponges and get started. And what I like to do is I'm going to dip it in there and dab it off, same as you would if you were dry brushing, and then stipple it over each of the bases just to give a little light coverage over the grey that's on there. We're going to do this for each of the 5 bases that we've got. I'm going to make sure that we get a nice coverage, not to cover the grey completely, but just enough that it looks like it could be some worn tarmac or some road or something. Next we're going to move on to using Mechanicus Standard Grey. Again, this is another Citadel paint. And what we're going to do is we're going to put some in our palette again, grab our other sponge, dip it into the paint and dab it off as if you were dry brushing. Try and get as much of that off as you can. And then once again we're going to do the same over the black and the grey that already exists. We're going to dab it on top to create a mottled road effect. So the idea here is that we're going to get it all over the base. Doesn't matter if you go over the black, doesn't matter if you go over the grey, doesn't matter if there's some gaps, because it all adds to the effect once you've done. Now as you can see here, this is the effect that we're aiming for, and we're going to do that on all 5 of the bases like we did with the black. And then we're ready to move on to putting a black wash on there. And before we do that though, we're going to grab Agaros Dunes contrast paint from Citadel, and we're going to colour in all the dirt and mud sections on the bases. And we're going to do this across all of them as we did before, just to give it a nice wet dirty look like you would have in a ruined city. And while we get this layer of paint on, why don't you take a minute to subscribe to our channel or check the Facebook links for our Facebook page in the description below. And once we've got this coat done, we're going to leave it to dry for a little while before coming in with the same colour and doing a second coat, just to make it that little bit darker. What we want to achieve is a look of a wet mud effect that's been through a little bit of battle, and we can do that by doing 2 coats to make it a little bit darker. And next we're going to come in with some Citadel lead belcher for the metals. We're just going to do this on the girder to start with. It's the only piece of steel type material that we have on these bases. So we're just going to paint it silver to start with the lead belcher, and then we're going to come in a little bit later once that's done and add some rust effects and finish it off and make it look like it's been in the ground for quite some time. Now we're going to come in with some Retributer Armor. Again, this is another Citadel paint. I'm going to use that to do those spent shell casings that we've got on the bases. And a nice little detail to add on there. What I did notice is that once I'd got these done and was ready to move on, I actually realised that I missed a couple of them. So just off camera I came back and added those in just to make sure that we'd got them all complete before we get to the next stage of adding a wash to these. As you can see, they really do add that extra level to the bases. You just get a quick close up of it here. If I can get it to focus, and if you look, it just adds that little bit extra to the models. Now we're going to move on, and it's time for that null oil wash, that black wash that we said we were going to put on these. It's just to darken down the stippling effect that we did earlier and bring all the colours together. It's not really Grim Dark 41st Millennium if it's not Grim or Dark. So we're just going to use this on all the grey and black that we did earlier, just like I said, to bring it back down to a darker shade, just to add that finishing touch to it. And again, it's going to be done across all of the models, just to bring them all to the same standards, and just add that black all over. And just remember, if you do get too much in any spaces, just clean your brush off a little bit and just then soak it up, put it back into your pot, or spread it around on the base just to get it everywhere so that you're not wasting anything. As you can see, this is just the last base that we're adding that wash to. You can see the final details that we're trying to achieve. Now we're going to move back on to finishing that metal off, and we're going to add some riser rust sponged on the same way that we did with the stippling effect, but we're just going to do it onto that metal patch, just to add a little bit of a rust colour. And then we're going to come in with some Agrax Earthshade and just wash it when we do the shell casings in a few minutes. So this is the final step. We've got the Agrax Earthshade, and we're going to put that wash on the shell casings on the 4 bases that have them, and then onto the rusty girder, just to add that final finish look to it. I do have to say that these bases are really well done. They've got a lot of detail on them, they're very well printed, so the guys at Ashdown Gaming have clearly put some effort into getting these correct. In terms of what I'd like to see, I'd like to see more designs, more versions of these bases, just to add a bit of variety to my squads. But at £3 for the 5 of them, they're a lot better value than some of the resin bases out there, even if they don't have that kind of variety. I'll definitely consider getting some more. Now from here, it's just a matter of getting the rims painted black, and then getting some models onto these bases to finish them off. And we'll switch to that in a few moments so you can see how the final product looks. In the meantime, if you've not already, just give our page a like and subscribe, and we'll hope that you'll come back for some more videos soon.